I would say I already had Audacity on my wizard in Diablo, but I don't. So that would be a lie. But I could.
You could. All right. We're live. I can tweet. I can
I
ping.
mean, I was liable to damage enemies within 15 yards of me today, so that would be appropriate.
All right, serious one off.
So the good news is we're supposed to get snow tomorrow or tomorrow night, and also the Xbox is coming tomorrow. So
Fortuitous combination.
yes, I didn't quite plan it that way, but it's nice synergy. So
I think cold storage is my favorite card in standard.
Low Burger Club. I'm glad you like it. Friendly book. Yeah, we've got the priest squad in the CoinKitC Discord. I have rallied so many priest players, Steve. Aren't you proud of me?
I would be if I could try it and have it actually work for me, but
It is not the priest that you know and love. It is a different kind of
no, it's
priest.
not. I could play that, but I
Right.
bet
I'm gonna use the restroom and
I
then
bet
I'll be
Quest
right.
Priest would be real good right now.
Please no. Please God no.
There are a lot of warlocks that don't like silencing, and I could probably work like just replace cannibalize with drown just to be extra obnoxious.
That is your jam.
Now it would be drown's time to shine, from sea to
Mm.
shining sea.
Let's see. I think I have. I mean, this is just going to be scroll patch notes the show, which is fine.
Yeah, that's I mean that's what we've been waiting for like 2 weeks. So
Yeah. Did you play it all
there
today?
wasn't really much else. I tried. It did not go well because I was A, exhausted, and B, not in a great mindset in general. So
Well, yeah.
yeah, so it did not go great.
But did you
Um,
you you saw standard?
I
You made eye
saw
contact with
standard.
standard. Yeah.
I
Okay.
made eye contact with standard. I hate Thursday patches because like I don't have enough time to play when I'm in a
Yeah.
mental state to actually not be aggravated about everything. And then I take that into the game with me. So I get tilted very quickly when I'm trying to jam games right before a show when they've just changed and then like everything is awful and I hate everything, which I know is not actually true, but I feel it because I'm tired and trying to cram. So, you know. But, I would rather have a Thursday patch than no patch, so I will take it. Hi, Rachel.
Hello.
Oh, well, at least I can. Well, I will be able to talk about the duel stuff because I played a fair amount of duels on my stream on Monday. So
It's there. There were a lot of duels changes, so I will
there's a
lean
lot,
entirely
a
on you for
lot of
that.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Some pretty good changes from what I can tell. Like I am obviously not super in tune, but seeing Be Our Guest gone, that seems
oh yeah,
good.
yeah. I appreciate them putting pictures in the show notes in the patch notes too, because
Both
like I
turns
don't
out.
remember all these things, but because that has not been the case all the way always. So
There have been a couple patches where like they had to like ship something really really fast, and their
yeah,
duel section was huge, and they just didn't have any
right.
pictures. So I was like, scroll, whatever.
Yeah, I mean I've had that happen. Just trying to get screenshots into things takes time. Yeah, I may have to give Quest Priest one last hurrah tomorrow. We'll see. Depends on how annoyed I am at Warlocks, because I think it could probably count if if everyone's still playing Warlock, it could probably counter it.
I don't think there are that many warlocks.
That's all I've seen today. It's
Really?
basically all I've seen when I was climbing. I
Well-
eventually just switched to it because that was like most of what I was seeing.
I've seen a couple, but I think it is not too hard to make that deck die. It's I was doing some
Yeah.
of it today in a co-op, and we got aggro maged and had no chance, no chance.
Yeah,
Like
that'll
just
happen.
completely obliterated. They just froze the slime and also hit us in the face with a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. Could maybe go back to spell Frost DK and do that too, I imagine.
I think so, yeah. Probably though it's. I mean, you can freeze it. Darkhandra Thier, you really want to get under Thier, and so like
Yeah.
freeze, like aggro freeze, mage has seemed good for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like there's some other deck. Like I've tried a bunch of
Yeah.
stuff today. Format's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, this would be an excuse to play Double Drown, so you do that.
Do you need an excuse? You're gonna do that anyways.
I really don't. No.
No, you really don't. What else? I tried Pure Paladin. It was fine. Oh, I tried some Murloc decks. There's some Murloc decks
Oh, did
out
you?
there. Oh, I did.
Seems fishy.
Oh, I did. It was. Yeah. Also, fishy is a good way to describe the results too, because I just don't know how good that deck is. Hello, Matt. Oh, you're welcome, World 8. Thank you for the support. I guess I should ping the Discord.
Sorry, that was longer than intended.
No, that's okay. We said hi to Rachel. She didn't hear us.
Yeah. Apparently
Got
you heard her,
your
though.
got your local recordings and stuff.
Nope.
I mean, I'm not recording yet, but I have it open.
Okay, as long as it's open. Hello, Rain. I'm actually linking your article right now.
Hi, Rain. Good to see you. We're also glad to be alive.
I'm in favor, generally speaking.
Yeah. It's better than the alternative, generally.
All right. We ready?
Yeah, I can be recording if we're ready to be recording.
Edelweiss has not given me a confident face right now.
Yeah.
It's an unconfident
Nope,
face.
because I'm texting my upstairs neighbor to be quieter.
If it helps, whatever noise they're making isn't coming through with the mic. So.
Well, that's good, because I'm concerned about what the noise is.
Oh. Is that a Penzies hat?
No, it says
Okay.
proud.
Oh, okay. My eyesight is getting bad in my old age.
I got to pay for my new glasses today. That was fun.
Oh, that's always exciting.
Yeah. I love just seeing how insurance takes off 10% of it. And then you pay for more than that.
That's why I've just been doing the Warby Parker thing, because at least if I'm gonna get let down by insurance, at least it won't be that much to start with.
I mean, they're very consistent. But like, I don't know. I'm happy with where we landed, except for the paying them $1,000. I'm less thrilled about.
Oh my
that.
god.
Wait.
What the hell is going on with your glasses? You're paying him $1,000.
The frames and the lenses have, like, I get all sorts of stuff on the lenses, the coatings.
Oh my goodness.
And it really helps, but it's money.
Because I get all kinds of stuff on the lenses at Warby Parker too. I'm not. This is not an advertisement, but like, it's only like, I think it was only like $250.
It's probably
Like
that seems
in
better.
and out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure we can talk about it after the show, but I
Yeah.
got it. Like when it was driving around, they got a transition coating on it that actually works in the car. That's like
Oh, you do the transition thing. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that gets more expensive for sure.
transitions
Okay.
with the blue light filter, and they work in the car,
Yeah.
and also the anti-scratch coating, and like
Yeah, I do all that except for the transition stuff because I just get a pair of sunglasses. But
Ah.
even with getting a separate pair of sunglasses, was probably about half of what you paid.
probably. Anyways,
But yeah,
we will discuss
yes,
optometry later. For now,
yes.
I think we're ready to do a podcast. Are we ready? Are the upstairs neighbors calm down? There's a cat.
I will turn you up.
Okay.
As
Cat.
long as like a bathtub doesn't come crashing through the ceiling, then
Okay. Nelsey, thank you for the sub. Oh, I gotta mark down these subs. Helping Friendly Book and Nelsey. Okay. All right. I'm gonna start recording now.
I am already recording.
I'm recording.
Recording.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Edel, we clapping over there.
That was a silent clap.
What's going on over there? Is that loud? 3, 2, 1. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Shadows hide you. I am listening. Our paths converge.
So good to see you.
Hail to you! Never lose hope.
Here for a chat.
I hear you. It has only begun. Fight on, friend!
Hello and welcome to episode 385 of Coin Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, March 2nd in the evening. Good riddance February. From Gadsden, New York, it's me, Ridiculous Hat. From Nomergon, Ohio, we have Edelweiss.
Hello.
And from Northern Massachusetts, we have Wicked Good.
Hi.
And from where you are patrons, we have you. Thank you so much for being here. World 8, thank you for being our newest senior patron. Really appreciate you and all your support. Everyone left us a review. Thank you so much for that. Really helps other people find the show. And all of you watching live, thanks for being here. Everyone listening, thanks for tuning in, downloading the show. All right, Life and Ladder. Steve, you have some stuff here. Things that start with D.
Yeah. Well, camping doesn't start with D because that's what I was doing most of the week. Because I ended up around 1100 after like Friday night stream, and then I just kind of said I don't really want to play mirrors anymore, and I didn't want to like end up coin flipping my way out of 11x, so I ended up camping for most of the weekend. So I ended up playing some duels on Monday, which I need to do that more. Like I need to remind myself that duels is fun, because I had a really good time playing it, and I don't play it enough. And I did like 3 runs over the stream. I did call the void, the little voidling hero power priest. I got Ring of Refreshment, which after every spell you cast, you get to refresh your hero power. So that was, given that deck is basically all cheap spells, and and then the hero power, I just ended up, I think I had one game where I had like 7 of them on board on like turn 3, and it was quite good. And I don't remember what the middle one was, but the last run that I did, I decided I didn't have a bunch of heroes that I liked, so I decided I was going to play Demon Hunter because I hadn't really played that in a while, and I was looking around and I didn't really like whatever I saw, so I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna build Outcast Demon Hunter, and we're just gonna do it. I'm just gonna go in. I'm gonna search for every card that says Outcast. I'm gonna put them all in the deck, except for Philosophy, which I probably should have put in because then it would have. What is it? Walloping? What the hell is
Vengeful
it? The one that
Walloper.
Vengeful Walloper. Apparently, you can copy that. I was told, like, as I pressed, "Are you sure?" Yes. Someone in chat said, "Oh yeah." Usually in Wild they play Philosophy, so you can get multiple Vengeful Wallopers. It was fine. But And I took the hero power that for 1 mana, you press it and then +1 attack every time you play a card on the left or the right. Well, once again, it offered me Ring of Refreshment. And I said, well, I don't really like these other hero powers. Let's just take this for science and we'll see if it stacks. Oh, yeah, it sure does. It sure does. And so I had some games where I just basically dumped my whole hand. And I think the other treasure was the one where, no, that would have been a tier 2 treasure. I was about to say, I think that was one where I had the, did I have Be Our Guest in that one? I'm not sure. But whatever I had, I was basically just like dumping out. And all of a sudden I was doing like 10 damage attacks. And it was all well and good until I ran into a Death Knight who had the treasure. You start with your class's location in play, and then my run ended immediately because it turns out Construct Quarters was busted in duels too. So, but it was pretty fun, and I played some Quest Druid after the month reset. Got myself up to like Plat 5 and 11x with that. It's done a little bit worse today because there's been a lot more Warlocks, and I don't know that we're good enough against that because those tend to go a little bit too fast for the Quest Druid to set up. But I'll try to figure it out. I've only played a few games today because I've been exhausted after work and not in a great mindset. But we did. Oh, the other thing is that I had a coaching session with Tito Santana on Sunday night, and he said, well, I want to either play Svalna Priest or Shadow Priest. And I said, well, if we try to play Svalna Priest, I'm basically just going to be yelling at you, why did you do that while you're playing a million cards? And that's not going to be fun for anybody. So why don't we just do Shadow Priest? So we queue Shadow Priest. And who is the first person that we queue into but what Edelweiss, who is playing Pirate Control Warrior.
What?
and
you know what? I had fallen substantially. This is what happens. Once I fall past 2K, I like decide, all right, we're just trying all the quest things again. Let's see what happens.
Once we fall past 2K, Edel just says, I'm on a boat. And that's the end of the discussion. And we did get double boated, by the way. And the turn that we died, both boats rolled Gorhal, which I felt was kind of BM, but I know it was not within Edel's control. But it was still a bit excessive.
Don't forget Mr. Smite.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Both of them gave Mr. Smite too. So both of them gave Gorhal Mr. Smite.
They didn't both give Mr. Smite, but one is enough.
I didn't even see what was on the board. I just saw the Gorhals. That was all I saw, and then I stopped seeing things. So yeah, that was that we did better after that. I'm happy to report. We ended up having a positive win rate, but we were not beating double boat. So that is, you can put that on your matchup matrix hat, that we are unfavored against double boat.
I will remember that. I would have predicted that if it gets to that point in the game, we've probably lost. But I didn't anticipate getting... There are a lot of things unanticipated in this scenario. I didn't really even have a projected game plan here, but I'm sorry that she happened to you.
I think that's an appropriate way to describe it. That's pretty much what happened, is that we just got Edelweiss. That's what happened. Yes.
And ironically, the power creep I've heard you talk about the most this week is in Diablo 3.
Oh yeah. The new season of Diablo is that's where I ended up spending most of my weekend. And the new season of Diablo is, if you have ever enjoyed Diablo 3, just go boot it up and like look up a walkthrough for the Altar of Rites and just do it. Like I have been playing, the season is less than a week old. I have already cleared a Greater Rift 115. And I am a 44-year-old man with terrible mechanics. So yeah, this is completely like power creep to how the Tall Russia Wizard is also very broken. So I'm just playing I'm basically playing the Diablo equivalent of pre-nerf Frost DK with all the buffs. Like it's basically what the new mechanic for this season, and I'll keep it short because I know not everybody cares about Diablo, but they have like this like skill tree thing in the corner of town, and you offer up certain things, and it tells you certain things you need to offer up to it, and the bonuses just get increasingly more absurd. Like you start out with like double massacre bonuses, which are or double length massacre bonuses, which are like if you can chain together enough kills, then like it multiplies your XP. So you just go through the early leveling like immediately, and then it just gets up to like, oh, you could just walk through enemies, and every time that you get this drop, then it drops double, and your pet can go pick up all the stuff for you that you normally would have to click on the ground. Oh, here's 50% bonus damage. Enjoy, right? And it just gets like more and more absurd as you get through it, and it's I assume that this is just because Diablo 4 comes out in June.
This is the last season, isn't
that,
it? Right?
I'm pretty sure it's got to be, because the seasons are usually several months long. So this is basically the smoke 'em if you got 'em season, and it's like it's like the the meta when they unnerf everything right before rotation and just say, here, play with all the broken stuff one last time. That's basically what this is in Diablo. It is absurd, and if you want to get to the fun stuff, it doesn't take a huge time investment to get there. So that's what I've been doing for like I did most of the weekend, and like in the evenings when I've been camping, I've been playing that instead.
Well, if you'd like to rush me a bit,
Oh, I will power level you.
I'd be happy to come back.
It will not take us long to power level you, I assure you.
All right, cool.
Edel, how you been besides the aforementioned
Besides
double boating?
talking loud, so yeah. I have been doing all right. I came back from the climbing gym earlier, which always feels good after a long day watching the nephew. And I haven't gotten a ton of games in, but I am pleased, I think, with where the location hit. 1 mana did more to that than I anticipated. I thought that they would really have to hit the size, but it's much more challenging to squeeze in, not just because it's harder to have an egg alive or whatever, but also because it makes the turn 5 play of location and hero power not a thing, and it's so much worse on 6. I don't think it's a keep anymore, because unless you're something that really has the eggs, it's like not for sure that you're going to be able to play it on 4 and have something to hit. So certainly in slower things, like, it's still a good card, but it's not necessarily going to be the case where you can play it on 4 and have a target. And paying 4 mana to do nothing is a substantially higher investment than paying 3 mana to do nothing. So yeah, I thought they were going to have to hit the stats. I really did.
Yeah,
One
I
mana
played a
nerfs
couple
matter.
games with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I played a couple games with it. If it did feel clunky in a way that it didn't really feel clunky before.
The build's gonna have to change.
And
Like, we're gonna have to change how DK decks look, or at least Frost. I'm sure Unholy will be fine.
yeah, I mean, you could just go back to Unholy and again, just like taking out the amalgams, putting those in, right? And like, I don't even know if you want to run Foul Egg. You could probably just go back to the old like pre-mini set build, take out the amalgams, put in locations, and just have a go at it that way. I think that would probably end up being fine. It's just a matter of whether that's fast enough to keep up with whatever else is in the meta. But yeah, it probably should be okay.
Egg still presents a pretty good question of like, do they clear it or not? I'm almost would still in Unholy maybe want to try with the Ruby and Egg as well. I don't know. That felt really good before, and I think would still be good, even though it doesn't curve out. But it feels more important to me now that you have something sticky going in so that you can play it on 4.
Yeah, but you don't really have a problem in Unholy getting something to be on board.
That's true.
Like that's generally not an issue that you have in that deck. Like that deck's pretty good at keeping something around to be annoying and then be able to turn into a 4/5. So yeah, it might be worth trying that out. I might try that tomorrow. But yeah, I don't I mean, the frost deck was really designed to just abuse the location, right? And now that the location is a little bit less abusable, maybe that's not the best way to use it. I'll be interested to see if Blood keeps it, because Blood could probably care a little bit less about the mana increase.
I think it's still a ton of incremental value, and so kind of slants a little more towards controlling decks or things that are more interested in that, rather than, Frost is much more of a kill you as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And it's exceptional incremental value still, right? I mean, once you've invested that 4 mana, it's still doing the same thing. It's just that there's going to be more instances where you're not able to drop it on curve because you need to deal with something else first. So
Yeah, it's people today are running the same deck they were running yesterday, and that was predicated on the curve of coin location. And this is a nerf to egg as much as it is a nerf to construct quarter, because turn 1 egg coin location was the Trog Totem Golem or double Wild Pond Noble of this format.
Mhm.
And a turn later is a big deal, because what do you do on that turn 2? And if you get ahead of the DK and they just hero power on 2 and then coin out the location on 3, it's still a huge deal as to how much slower it is. So you can actually do stuff. It feels notably worse. Like, Frosty K is still going to be fine, but I'm not sure the deck is going to stay the way it was built, because, like you both said, it was really optimized to lean into the high roll. And Unholy will have plenty of food, but it still has the same weaknesses, because Construct Quarter doesn't do anything special for that deck. It activates Vizier, and it's good with Egg, but it's another card that aligns pretty well with what Unholy was already doing, which means it has the same vulnerabilities. So
yeah, but
still a good
I
card.
mean, like, the card you're taking out is like Amalgam, right? So like it's an upgrade from Amalgam if you're cutting 2 cards. I think the other thing with Frost is that it was drifting much more towards a double Mind of Menethil build, and I don't think you can do that at all now. That's just too many cards at 4 mana.
Well, you
right?
do
You're
that
just
when
gonna be
when the
stuck
mirror is 50% of your matchups, right? Like, that's
Right,
just not going to
also
be the
that.
thing anymore.
Or
Yeah.
well, I mean, when the mirror, or if you're pocket train towards the end of the weekend, like playing Starfish, and to try to
Oh gosh.
yeah.
Oh,
It's-
that's
The format was a little warped. It was a little much. We'll talk about that in the news section. But
shout out to my teammate Molstar, who made a Control Warrior list that strictly beat Frosty K. He was
Yeah.
like, lose to everything else. But he
Oh,
got
yeah, I
to
saw
rank
that.
6.
I saw that
Yeah.
too. It looked like I mean, when the meta is like 70% one deck, you can go all in on trying to target it, and there are ways to do it. So
it's today things feel pretty different. So we're gonna talk about in the news. We're gonna talk about they had a whole patch, but the important thing for Standard, which is what we talk about primarily in the show, is that Goldshire Knoll moved to 11 and Construct Quarter moved to 4. Evolved Shaman is dead. It's actually dead. Like,
Yep.
Yeah. There is a bug right now that I expect for them to fix hopefully tomorrow. So just so you know, Blazing Transmutation. 1 mana, discover a minion for this to transform into that costs 1 more. If you cast that on a knoll, it still shows 10 drops, and I'm pretty sure I know why. You can't discover the same thing. So because it can't show itself, it hits the fail case of not having anything to evolve into
Oh.
anyway. So it rolls down to 10s.
Ah.
okay,
'Cause there's
I
only
see-
one
I
11.
see where you're going with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That has
makes
to be it, right?
sense. Yeah, that's got to be it. Yeah, it's just like too many rules that are bouncing into each other on one card. Yeah.
Because
Is
this
it
is a weird
confirmed, the
card.
bug?
There is
yeah.
a bug. There is 100% a bug. It is not supposed to work this way. Deck Tech had a tweet where he's not advertising what exactly is going on, but he said, "Yes, I've seen the report. You're all reporting. Thank you, teams working on it. It's a bug. It's not going to
All
keep
right,
working
cool.
this way. They haven't done Discover Evolve ever, so that's why we ran into a problem with this card before, and that's why we're running into a problem with this card now.
Yeah.
So this would have been solved pretty easily if they just buffed Azul Giant instead, but what do I know?
Yeah.
What do I know?
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
at the end of the day, you either do that or you die immediately. So I mean, it's not like it's not worth playing the deck just to try to abuse the bug because you're not going to get that to happen enough times to counteract the number of times you're just going to die.
Yeah.
So.
And I tested this in both solo content, the Innkeeper, and then casual mode. And solo content is wild format, and you do hit 12s. You hit Arcane Giant, Mountain Giant, whatever, you do hit 12s. So it's working as intended there. So it's got to be the Discover thing. Either way, they intended for this to roll into Null, and I imagine that we will see a patch fairly quickly. If we're lucky tomorrow, if we're unlucky next week. But it is only Blazing Transmutation. The other evolves don't work this way because of the Discover code. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So there's still potential high rolls there, but hopefully not for long. And hopefully people will realize that it's so much worse with everything else that they won't keep doing it. I guess we'll see.
it's.
I mean,
the deck
I would
is-
imagine that. Yeah.
It's not popular enough for this to be impactful, and the only people that are playing it are going to be the one that either don't realize it was changed or are just trying to lean into this thing while they still have another minute with it. But either way, we can call this a very particular corner case that can only come up when the only 11 in the format is also the 11 that you are targeting with this card. And I imagine they will modify it because Discover Evolve is a weird thing. Remember, we talked about not knowing if it was a bug or not, that it was a Discover that showed from other classes, because it didn't say that on the card. Just because Evolve has always done other classes and Discover never has, and so you gotta, like, push comes to shove, you gotta break some rules. Because, you know. So...
And this wouldn't have been a scenario that would have presented itself in testing, because there wasn't an 11 in Standard, and in Wild, it just works. Right?
Well, theoretically,
So they
like,
didn't-
if they change it and play a game and they see that it shows 10s again, right? Like, but I don't know if there was some other difference in production and dev.
Yeah.
Either way, they're going to work on it, right? They're going to work on it. So, I have played stuff today. I have played multiple Murloc decks and multiple classes. Because if you remember, No Fins Impossible hits Murlocs, and Warlock has those. The deck isn't great. Funky Monkey had a good run with it, so I net decked him. It was all right. Sometimes you get really big Murlocs, but then sometimes they die anyways. Who cares? I did beat a gold card back with a Murloc Shaman today because I got a Rotgill going, and then they cleared the board, and then I did the Chomper that makes the 3/1/1 tokens, and then I coined out Shadow Suffusion. They were at 11, and it was a Warlock. And they left. It was Glory, former world champion. I beat him with Murlocs. It was very entertaining. Yeah. So, you can do that. Played some Pure Paladin. It was alright. Played various kinds of Shadow Priest. You can do that. There's both the burn list that has taken the Coin Conceit Discord by storm and has done very well and is showing up statistically. It looks like a promising deck, as well as an even lower version that's more back to the Minion Swarm. That's trying out all sorts of stuff. It's pretty decent. What else did I try? Quest Druid. So we haven't even covered how this time last week Quest Druid wasn't a thing,
No,
and then
it was
somehow
like the last
over the
couple days of the season, all of a sudden.
yeah, somehow over the past 7 days, people have figured out you take the Astalor combo and you put it in Quest Druid, and it's good because the new mini set card Rake is ridiculous.
Yeah. Rake is
1 mana
stupid.
Druid spell.
So good.
Yeah.
Gain 2 attack and then deal damage equal to your attack to target minion. For those that don't know, this is pre-nerf multi-strike, except you don't have to take the damage. It's really, really, really strong. So you just get to lean into that a little bit, and then you either win with a bunch of guff stuff, and you still play Scale of Onyxia and Underking and whatever, or you just Astalor combo them. And that's pretty entertaining. So I played some Chad Warlock as well, some big Thaddeus combo Warlock. I killed Ant with Baron Rivendare. That was entertaining. He was on a kind of minion-centric blood DK with Famished Fools and stuff, and blood taps. It was weird. And, like, he got up to 47-ish or whatever. And then I Shallow Grave my Flesh Behemoth, and he died. Because it just spit out some War Riders. It's been an entertaining little bit. It's been entertaining. So this format feels pretty refreshed. And there's some innovation that was going on even before the changes because people were bored out of their minds because of all the Frosty Ks and clearly needed to be pulled back, and I'm glad they did that. But I think that there's going to be some interesting stuff going on until rotation, which should be in 6 weeks-ish, 5-6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine we're probably 2 weeks out from an announcement and then another
From
month.
pre-order, yeah.
Yeah, and because I mean, usually that's the window, right? Is that's like the last balance patch window is usually like 2 weeks before the pre-order patch, and then it's usually a month from pre-order patch to expansion. So yeah, 6 weeks.
Yep. Yeah, it's usually after the 0.6 patch, which is pre-order. It's 3 weeks for the 0.0 patch, but then we have a week of waiting for the expansion to be turned on. They ship the patch before they activate the cards. So
with
that
the
should be
with the great unnerf thing.
Yes, with the reversion stuff, which will be an interesting time this year. Because that just means we'll probably get Goldshire Knoll back. But along with other
I would
stuff.
imagine that Goldshire Knoll is probably not going to be good enough, given how many cards they nerfed this year.
Yeah.
True. We may have some Warlock.
Demon
What is it, 60 lock? Yeah.
Oh, D6, yeah, is Stealer. Could do
Oh,
some Stealer
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that they could change back. Like, are we going to
3
get
mana
Unnerfed
Rod
Snowfall
Hat.
Guardian? Unnerfed Snowfall Guardian. Are we going to get that? I'm just scrolling now. I'm going to look through and
3
see what else
mana
we could
Rod.
possibly- I think that card's staying right where it is. I think 5 mana is the right cost. Yeah. They probably won't revert Guff. Seems unlikely. I don't think they're going to put the Hunter questline back. Celestial Alignment, probably not. A little spooky.
Maybe they'll put the Shaman quest line back.
They could. It wouldn't do anything, unfortunately. It makes me really sad. They probably won't do From the Depths.
They could change Trog back.
They could. I don't know if Wild needs
I
better
don't know if
aggressive
they
one
want that
drops.
in. Yeah. Or Octobot too could be something that they might do.
Dragonbane Shot?
Oh yeah, maybe.
Dragonbane Shot
Yeah.
back to 2. Remember that card being just the terror of Standard? I have not thought about a
Yeah.
Dragonbane Shot in a long time.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I wonder if they revert Kazakhstan to original functionality. I wonder what they do.
That would be interesting too.
Oh, Switcheroo is not rotating. Okay.
No, and that should never have shipped that way. So I don't think they're going to. They're gonna ship. I mean, Mr. Smite they could put back, right?
Yeah.
That seems like kind of a no-brainer. They might even put Drekthar back.
I don't know. Maybe. Get
I
those
mean, how
diamond
bad is that
copies some
gonna be in
use.
Wild?
That is in you summon 2 Spirit of the Frogs in Shaman, and then you kill your opponent
God.
with overdrafts. It's very powerful.
Oh, hey, they could change Celestial Alignment back too.
No,
Please no.
it's Druid kills people too well right now already in Wild. Anyways, we're basically in the news section, so why don't we go to the news section? I'm just gonna play the bumper and start scrolling the patch notes. Let's go.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
All right, here we are. They did a patch. Surprise! We've only been talking about it for the past 20 minutes, so we're going to keep talking about it. Data only patch. If you've been waiting on the App Store, don't just open the game. It's just data only. By the way, if you want to know if something is data only, almost always, if a patch is .x, point 0, 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, just one number, you got to wait for the App Store. If it's got 2 numbers, like today, 0.4, 0.3, data only. The full downloads are point number, and that's it. So, let's read the dev comment. Overall, this is a little bit of a lighter patch for Standard. We just had a big infusion of cards with the mini set, so this patch is just looking to address 2 major outliers after that card infusion. We're excited to see where the mini set lands after these adjustments. For Wild, we've been discussing potential updates to the mode. In this patch, we're making changes to help curb some of the mode's negative play experiences. We don't view the changes as exhaustive, but we are working on some more long-term updates that we're excited to share once they are more solidified. And I have some additional context from Matt London on that too. But Construct Quarter, 3-4. The dev comment, Frost Death Knight is the best deck in Standard after the mini set, and Construct Quarter is the standout card in that deck and in other DK decks. This change is both an acknowledgement of the strongest deck in the format and the strongest card in that deck. Yeah,
Yep.
that. Yes, that. Okay.
That
And then
was
gold-
the easiest call
Yeah.
ever, by the way.
Yeah. It's, yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
then
mean, the
gold-
fact that it was that deck was playable in Wild by just like swapping out one card for Loatheb and calling it a day, and that was something you could ladder with in Wild. That was probably a good sign that that's the only thing that needed to change. Though I guess now you could play that in even Death Knight in Wild. So, enjoy that.
That is
But-
cool. Yeah.
People are
I
trying
mean,
it.
I just meant that like I saw this card in the mini set and I was like,
Yeah.
cool, I should get as many of these as possible because it's not staying.
And then also we have Goldshire Knoll from 10 to 11. Before the rise of Frost Death Knight, Evolved Shaman was the biggest outlier in the format. This change is to keep Evolved Shaman in line after the adjustment to Construct Quarter. Goldshire Knoll is an important enabler for the deck's bad play patterns, and this makes those play patterns slower and less powerful, while still allowing Evolved Shaman to play with the exciting new cards they got in the mini set. I understand how this comment could make people think, no, we still want Knoll to work the way it does. But it's a bug. So I don't know what Evolved Shaman they're expecting to see, because I can tell you, we're not doing Baroness Vash coin Blazing Transmutation. That's not gonna get there. So
There
don't
were
know.
a couple people trying Battlecry based Evolved Shamans before Frost Death Knight really became a thing. So that's something that, like with Bolner, like I think is this it? Like IGXC's list that was
So-
running like
With
it was running
Multicaster.
with Multicaster and School Teacher, and it was running Bolner and Sleepbreaker. I mean, you did have Knolls at the top end of it, but you weren't like doing like Vol'jin into Neptulon type things. You were running more minion density and just like getting value out of those minions and running cold storage to get more copies of them.
Yeah, and I have played some of that. I guess I haven't tried its original state again. I mean, I would take out the nulls for sure at this point. For sure, I think it's filled with minions that you can get some incremental value by doing a trade with Multicaster, or even just like playing it for the battle cry and then using the location. I think the location can still be great for that kind of use, and schooling is still good early clear that is overload free for Shaman. I did find that it struggled to keep up with some of the more aggressive starts, but Wildpaw Cavern is still a great card, and Cold Storage has got to be my favorite card in Standard. I've been messing around with a lot of Shaman builds because of Cold Storage, because you have access to Macaw. So there's all kinds of things that you can Cold Storage a class card outside of Shaman. Let's say Mograine or Patchwork, and then you play it immediately because it's turn 8. Then the following turn, you go Bolner, Macaw, fill in the blank. And I'm pretty sure I had a game with like 3 or 4 Mograine active. And so in spite of my DK opponent being, 60 life or whatever, it didn't take too many turns. And another time got there with a similar line on Patchwork, not because I fatigued them or anything, but just because they didn't have a hand anymore. And they don't always have card draw to refill as blood. So, yeah, Cold Storage has some pretty nutty things you can do, not just against DK, but getting extra Astalors. I mean, of course, the baseline crazy thing you can do in that deck is you play Astalor 8 and then go Bolner Macaw. It does the full damage. It's obviously still good. And having the little bit of evolve in there means that every once in a while you can get a minion from outside your usual stuff that you evolved into and be able to get its battle cry or whatever because you cold storage it.
Or you just don't get the stat penalty on the minion that you played, right? Like, I
Yeah,
mean, that's
sure.
kind of the idea of it. Like, you're playing like a 3-mana 3/3 in Macaw. Okay, well now I can turn this into a 4-drop and still, for 1 more mana and get like a decent sized minion instead of having like an understated minion or a 2/2 from Astalor 2 or whatever. And so, like, I mean, it's, again, is it going to be good enough? I don't know, but it's something that you could still do. And I think that's what I've been saying for a couple weeks. Like, I think that was what they intended when they printed all these cards, and then Noel just kind of was there, and it was just like, well, why would I do the fair thing when I can do the absurdly broken thing?
Right. I mean, I think they intended, like Hat has said, a Baroness Vosh kind of evolve. And that is not what this is, right? This is a control shaman that utilizes some evolve things for value, but it's not an evolve shaman. And I think Blazing is still a really good card because you get to discover, so you discover the best thing on your stuff or the worst thing if you use it on their stuff. Having that choice of being able to transform their things if you really have to, I think is excellent. But yeah, I'm not sad to see Null go.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just felt bad, right?
For 2 expansions now, the best keep in the deck was Schooling, specifically to not play the fish. Like, that's not how that should work. So, glad they changed it. In addition, we also got some wild changes, 3 of them. So, we don't have dev comments on this here, but I do have Matt London's tweets pulled up. We'll talk about those. But there were 3 wild nerfs, each of which is a deck deleter. I will explain what the deck being deleted is for those of you that don't play WoW. Grey Sage Parrot went from repeat the last spell you've cast that costs 5 or more to repeat the last spell you've cast that costs 6 or more. This has no change to standard Big Spell Mage. Even if you're playing Blizzard, you still get to recast your Blizzard, your Arcane Defenders, your Rune of the Archmage, your Drakefire Amulet. In Wild, they were replaying the reward from Open the Waygate, the Ungoro quest, which says Time Warp, 5 mana, take another turn after this one. Then you would parrot it, then you would Potion of Illusion the parrot, and replay it, and then you would Bran and play more parrots. And it was just... It wasn't infinite turns, it was enough turns. And so it's functionally the same as Turtle Mage, except instead of your stuff being functionally irrelevant, they never even turned green. You never got game actions. Like, they just took 8 turns in a row and killed you or whatever. So, they made it so Parrot doesn't work with Time Warp anymore. So that deck's gone. Okay. Spectral Pillager. Used to be a 6-mana 5/5 rogue card. Epic. Combo. Deal damage equal to the number of other cards you've played this turn. Now, it is deal 2 damage to a minion for each other card you've played this turn, and it costs 5. It's 5 mana 5/5. For those unaware, Rogue would play stuff and then kill you with this, primarily using Spirit of the Shark. Spirit of the Shark, 4 mana 0/3, has stealth for 1 turn, doubles all your battle cries and all your combos. So, if you played 5 spells before this, then you played Little Scabs, you would do Pillager for 7/7, 8/8, and they would take 30 and die. You could play more spells than that if you had to deal more damage. But if you didn't, you just did Mailbox Dancer, Coin, Shadow Step, Mailbox Dancer, Coin, Scabs, Pillager, you're dead. That's it. Game's over. So, now it can't go face. I have seen some meme posts from WoW players that put in Soulbound Ashtongue and Silas Darkmoon, where you give them the 1/4 that deals the hero damage. It is a much worse deck. I feel very confident about saying that. Where you have to throw in a 1/4 and a 7 mana 4/4 to make your combo work. Good luck. It's technically still functional. Godspeed. And finally, Cataclysm. They nerfed this card by making it better. By making it discard fewer cards. Cataclysm used to be 4 mana, destroy all minions, discard your hand. Now it is 5 mana, destroy all minions, discard 2 cards. So it used to be you discarded a handful of discard synergies. Soul Barrages, which shot 6 pings when it got discarded. Fist of Jaraxxus, which dealt 4 damage when it got discarded. Walking Dead, which made a 2/5 taunt. Silverware Golem made a 3/3. Hand of Gul'dan, which drew you 3 cards. You would discard your whole hand and end up with a better board and a ton of face damage. And it also was bugged with Talented Arcanist, which gave +2 spell damage to the next spell you played, it would affect all of the spells you discarded. So people would just die. And so they made this card worse by making it let you keep your hand.
Yeah. It's also important that it's destroy all minions, period, discard your hand, period. So like the opposing board would be gone, and then all the damage that hit random targets would trigger when you would discard your hand. So it would all go face. So that was the other thing. Like I almost thought they might just like swap the order of the sentences, right? Just to make it worse. Like discard your hand and then destroy all minions, so that all the minions that would get triggered would die, and all of the direct damage would still hit minions that were on the opposing side of the board. But this seems like that's even like opening up the door if you wanted to do that. And this way it's just cleaner and it's easier to explain. I mean, I think there's a little bit more wiggle room in like creative nerfs for Wild, given that that's a much smaller part of the player base, but also just don't mess around and just make that deck not do that anymore.
It is unclear to me if they have time to test right now. And if they did, I think Wild would be the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
So I don't know the specifics of the demands on the final design team right now, but I would guess they are pretty deep into testing next standard, not this one, and certainly not this Wild. So this is a pretty straightforward change that you can understand on a fundamental level. Just makes the deck way less viable, if not unviable, which is probably where it needs to be. So Matt London tweeted about this. Today, we made some balance adjustments to Wild. As mentioned in the patch notes, these changes are intended to curb some negative play experiences. Some of you may be asking why this combo and not the other combo. Evaluating the breadth of decks in Wild is a daunting task. For this round, we looked at consistency, the ability to interact with the combo, play frequency, win rate, and public sentiment. We're not committing to maintaining this policy in the future. I'll repeat that just to make sure everyone hears that. We're not committing to maintaining this policy in the future. We're trying this approach this round and seeing what effect it has on the meta and player sentiment. It's not our intention to kill anyone's pet deck, and we're not eager to engage in an endless game of whack-a-mole in Wild. Thanks again. See you on the ladder. So, they are trying this. This is an experiment. And they're making it very clear that it could go a different way this time, or this might not be the way to go at all.
Yeah. What I take away from that statement is that, these were things that were complained about pretty heavily, and they're all things that you can straight up kill with these changes, right? Single card, deck doesn't function anymore. So now they assess the sentiment afterward, right? How do people feel killing these decks? Do suddenly we see a surge of people who are very upset that they had their deck killed? Right? Was it just that one group was louder before and then now it's the other? Or is it legitimately most people feel pretty good about the way this went? And that can kind of shape going forward, like, okay, when there's something that, happens too early or too consistently, etc., we will curb it because that seems to be a thing people like. But if it sort of is the situation where, okay, these die and now other combos just replace them at similar or slightly lower consistency or but similar speed or what have you, then maybe the problem wasn't these decks. It's just like, well, these were the ones and now there's other ones. And in which case, like they said, game of whack-a-mole, you can't just hit them all and maybe have to try a new approach.
Yeah, and it's also kind of important to keep in mind the decks that they're targeting are not like people's favorite decks from old, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure there are some people who really enjoyed playing these decks, but like, this isn't like, well, I used to play, I don't know, Shirvala Paladin, and I want to play Shirvala Paladin again, right? And now the Shirvala Paladin doesn't work. Like, that's not what this is. These were just kind of like the degenerate, like, late stage Wild, having too many cards and just kind of getting to do the most broken things the most consistently and the most quickly. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, because the wild community is generally, not shy about letting their like their feelings be known. And I mean, I did see some positive commentary on Twitter today, from people who have been, pretty vocally frustrated over the last few months. And I mean, at the very and I'm sure that there will be a new big bad in like a week, right? Like there always is. But it'll be interesting to see, like, if that opens up some experimentation, and if it at least if it's a different big bad, if that's better, right? Because there's always going to be a boogeyman in Wild, or two or three. It's just a matter of, like, are they always the same boogeyman or not? And like, this is kind of the problem with a non-rotating format, is that the way that you tend to get big shakeups is with a rotation, right? Is with taking away things, because you can add, like, there's only so much that you can get by adding more, right? Like, because the things that were good just tend to get better, and without taking anything away and making those things not work, then you're just going to get more and more efficient versions of the things you've already been sick of losing against. But I mean, and maybe this approach of just like kneecapping some of those decks to force people to try other things occasionally, maybe that works. I don't envy them, having to try to be the police of that format, but I guess you see how this goes and see if at least if it makes people happy for a little while.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see. Like, one of the responses I saw is someone responding to the Whack-A-Mole comment saying, Whack-A-Mole is enough for us. Like, you could just do that every so often, it would be fine. But there are other people saying that's not enough. We've talked about this a few
You're
times.
never going to make everybody happy.
No, and Wild in particular is multiple formats in one, multiple player bases in one.
Yeah.
So I just like that they're trying, and it's important to note, Matt talked about the air quotes Wild Summit. What was that? That was last week, right? We covered that in the show last week.
Yeah, we talked about it on the show last week. Yeah.
Changes in 10 days. Anyone that was worried about them not taking it seriously doesn't have to worry about that anymore. We got changes in 10 days. So that is about as fast as I can ask anybody to move. Okay. That's all for Constructed. We do have quite a few BG's changes. There are a couple interesting ones. We're not going to do line by line in all of the BG's changes, because there are a bunch and we're not all that tuned in right now, but there is a minion pool change that I want to talk about. Archdruid Hamul. Tier 644 Battlecry Refresh Bob's Tavern with minions of your most common type is gone. He's back. He's back for 2 weeks. Has been temporarily returned to the minion pool just until patch 25.6. They gave a definitive end date, and that should be the pre-order patch, which should be in 2 weeks. That's a new thing they're doing, right? They have a minion in the pool for 2 weeks?
I'm pretty sure, other than like Diablo, right? Like Diablo's not really like,
that was
not
longer
to
than
bring
that.
back other bad things, right? But other than Diablo, I don't think they've really had a lot of any of those types of events, and they've generally been tied to events. So yeah, I think that's new, that it's just like, here's this one minion that's back for 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's cool, I think. Like, I'm not a highly invested BG's player, but this seems kind of fun. What just happened? Okay.
That we are here in spirit only for the time being.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Hey, I'm Hat now on the stream. There we go. Now it's fixed.
Hey, thanks everyone for waiting for my Discord, which decided to just not work anymore. Steve, I love the thing you said. I thought that was really smart. That was a really smart thing.
What, that I'm Hat now?
I don't know what you said while I was gone, so I'm assuming it was. I'm
Oh,
just. I'm
okay,
giving
it was
Edelweiss
very
some
smart, yes.
material to. Wait, Edel, did you talk to? Did you say anything?
I mean, just like rip.
Yeah, I think "oh no" was the extent of our conversation.
It was basically.
Okay.
It was basically. Wait, that's not just me, right?
Yeah, because you
Okay.
were mid word when you went out, so we were, you know, we were pretty
So wait, I'm marking this
convinced
down.
that yeah.
Edel, I'm just going to give you some blanket inclusions. Edel, I think you made a really great point. Steve, I really like what you said there. There you go. Save this episode. Just whenever you need to throw something in, you just have that for
Put
the
those
rest.
on a soundboard.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. There's enough audio of our speech that I could probably make any of us say anything I wanted.
That sounds like a threat.
Hmm. So, anyways, in addition to Hamul coming back, they changed a whole bunch of stuff, but we know that 0.6 is usually when they do the BG's mini set equivalent, so that's going to be soon. They didn't really like delete anything that I can tell. They made some interesting changes. A lot of stat changes, but also like they reverted Greasebot back to tier 4. The original release date, tier 4 +2/+1 permanently. So it's a different way to play there. I don't know. Try some BGs later, maybe. But I still have to get Legend. I'm in Diamond 2, I think. Yeah.
I mean, it's the second day of the month. It's okay.
It is. It's true. We also have some duels updates, like a lot of them. So, Steve, I'm going to lean into you on this one. They made a bunch of hero power changes, like some priest nerfs, some DK nerfs. There's some buffs here. There are a lot of signature treasures that changed. There are pictures in the show in the patch notes. Thank goodness.
Yeah, I'm
Absolutely
really
thank you.
appreciative of whoever put the pictures in to just kind of remind us what everything is, because like the last couple times we've had a big duels patch like this, it's been kind of hard to just like, because like I don't even like the hero powers that I see all the time. I don't remember what the names are. I just know what the pictures
Right.
look like. So like, you know, because like there's three per hero too. So you know, there's always the
like-
one that gets picked and then the other two.
What's the name of the base DK hero power? The base Death Knight hero power. What's the name of that?
It's like something ghoul.
I'll look it up. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Like I couldn't tell you, like if you asked me, I probably couldn't tell you, like other than like warlock, like what, you know, what some of them are off the top of my head.
All
Like
right, now I'm
what,
gonna
like
think
rogues,
about
what,
that.
like wicked dagger or something, like
yes.
you know, but
So we also
Rail
got
Ghoul.
Ghoul.
That's what it's called. Frail Ghoul.
frail ghoul.
That's the minion. Ghoul charge
Yeah.
is the hero power.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
okay.
I knew that.
I didn't. I had no
That's
idea.
what we were talking about, though.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the minion.
No, we're talking about like the name of the hero power, because
It
they
is
give
quite
us
frail.
like, yeah, like the last times that they've given us big duels patches, they've given us just like the names of the hero powers. Like, well, which one was that again? Yeah.
They didn't give us an image for Be Our Guest being removed from Pool 1 because you're not going to see it
Yeah.
anymore, but we know what that one is. That's shuffle 3 invitations into your deck at the start of the game.
Yeah.
It was busted.
Good.
I'm glad they got rid of
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. That one is just like stupid. So, and especially like in pool 1, it was incredibly stupid. It was just basically like win your next 2 games when you pick that one.
So,
yeah.
Steve, you've been playing duels lately. I haven't. Walk me through what's going on here. Do you know why they did what they
Yeah.
did? Do we know what we expect to change? What were the feelings here?
Yeah, I mean, like Ghoul Blitz, like the going from 1/1 with Charge and Reborn to 2/1 with Charge. I mean, generally Death Knight is very good in duels too, and having that many extra corpses to work with, and also having the minion left over after it dies from the hero power, it was a lot. And just having one that does a little bit more damage is, I mean, this is basically the Baku hero power, right? Like that's what that is. So, I mean, the Baku hero power in duels is fine, but like having that many extra corpses to work with, especially when you get like, there's the weapon for Scarlet that every time you spend corpses, you heal that much. So like it just spirals out of control really quickly. Reno's hero power, arcane craftiness, fire 2 missiles at random enemies that deal 1 damage. If any minion dies, repeat this. This is like if you get offered 1 wildfire, you may as well just cash your 12 wins in. Like it's
Didn't they ban
there's
it?
a lot of decks.
They ban it
What?
or only from
We're
construction?
still offering it in buckets. You can't put it in deck building, but they were offering it in buckets again. I don't know if that was a bug or not, but that was definitely happening. But even if not, right? Like there are some minion-based strategies that just invalidates completely, right? Because like if you have anything that's built around like swarming minions, this just clears all of it with 1 hero power. So making that cost a little bit more is a good thing. I mean, especially when you have things like Ring of Refreshing and stuff like that, right? The one that I was talking about earlier, that if you whenever you cast a spell, refresh your hero power, like that needs to cost a little bit more in case of that, right? The Scourging is discovered undead going from 1 mana to 2 mana. I mean, it's just I don't know if that was too good. I mean, Death Knight again in duels was just very good. So and Discover and Undead has a lot of variance there. So there's always going to be a good thing. And this is like the Call of Madness change is almost a reversion because they just buffed this from 2 mana to 1 mana. So it was 1 mana summon a 0/1 Void Fiend, and now they're making it 2 mana summon a 0/2 Void Fiend. I imagine this is also because this is way too good with Ring of Refreshment. Like 1 mana for that when in that deck where you're just playing like, you know, palm readings and Illuminate and like a whole bunch of 0 mana cards, a bunch of 1 mana cards that go to 0. You know, like that, then you just get this big board that you can't get rid of. And, you know, having a little bit of extra health on it to start with is not bad because then it makes it a little bit harder to get rid of initially. So it'll be interesting to try it and see how it is. Like going back up to 2 mana is going to make it a little bit worse, but also making them a little bit stickier might be okay because they'll be 0/3s at the end of the turn. Because at the end of the turn it steals 1 health from the enemy hero, so it gets +1 health. So that's going to bring it up a breakpoint. That might be okay. And it looks like they buffed Shadow Men, which is the other priest hero power that oh no, they're nerfing it. It is a nerf. It was restore 3 health to a character if it's still damage, draw a card. Now it's restore 2 health to a character if it's still damage, draw a card. I don't know if that was being picked a lot. Because usually priest is either Call of Madness or it's the one whenever you play a spell, deal 1 damage to your opponent. I haven't seen that one picked a lot, but maybe it was still too good. I don't know. Bruising is getting buffed from 1 mana to 0 mana. This is force a friendly minion to attack a random enemy minion. Is that warrior?
It is warrior, yeah. I remember there was in the old bucket system, there was a warrior deck that you picked all the legendaries you built with all the legendaries, so you get discs, and you would double all your legendaries. Yeah. And when you did that, you would have bruising because you would have all these giant legendaries that people would run into, and they had to nerf it back then, if I recall. So I think this is the original cost.
Yeah, it looks like they're buffing both the warrior ones, and that makes sense because like the only warrior hero power you pick is the one if you have armor shuffle a bomb at your opponent's deck. So they're probably just trying to make a reason to pick the other hero powers ever. So they're shaving a mana off of both of them. Warmaster's Frenzy. This is who is this?
I think that's
Shaman.
I think
it's Drekthar. Oh yeah, it's Drekthar, which is going from 2 mana to 1 mana, deal 1 mana, deal 1 damage to all minions, honorable kill, game +1 attack this turn. I could see that maybe being a little bit better in like a swarm deck or something like that. But yeah, that's another one that Drekthar has better ones that you pick that you just don't pick that. So they're probably just trying to make that a little bit better. The treasures, I'm a little bit less like they're buffing a lot of the treasures that nobody picks basically.
There are 10 changes here, which is pretty significant. Like, is there anything you see here that really stands out to you, or you just think this is a general go through and clean up the things that people weren't taking? They made Shadow Word Void at least match the hero power, where it makes 0/2s instead of 0/1s, but it gives you half as many, which is probably a good idea because that card was pretty powerful.
Good.
Yeah,
that card was too good. So yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. And yeah, this Gluth, I don't play enough DK. But I guess it's going from 4 mana to 5 mana, which was Battlecry, give your other undead +2/+1 and Reborn. That probably should be a little bit more than 4. So that's fine. I didn't see that taken either a lot, but that seems like that was probably too good. But yeah, it's like a couple of the hunter ones. Death Strider, which was Battle Cry, trigger one random friendly minion's death rattle, improves during run, is going from 4 to 3, and then Bone Crusher, which is the adorable bunny that has rush and death rattle, summon 2 other minions with death rattle that die this game, is going from 8 mana to 6 mana, and that's probably just because hunters like Death Rattle Hunter was like one of the original archetypes, and that just hasn't been just seeing enough play, I would imagine, because that card used to be really good even in 8.
Both of
I
these
think
were really
they might have
good.
nerfed it. Yeah.
They nerfed it 2/8, and Death Starter used to cost 2. So like you would end up with these really broken openers back in the day, but in a very different world in how duels functioned. It had fewer classes, fewer treasures, the buckets work differently, like it's just completely different context. So it looks like this is a cleanup pass in a lot of ways, along with addressing some of the outliers of the format. I'd be curious to talk to really dedicated duels players after they get some time with this and to see if things are better. But so far, I haven't seen anyone that's like, no, I'm going to miss Be Our Guest. That seems to be a really,
VR
really
Guest
nice
can
change.
get out. Yeah, like that. I saw that. I was like, good, get out. Like, it's just, I mean, it feels great when you get it, and then it feels terrible when you're playing against it. And it's just like, especially in the early games, because it's pool 1. Like and so you're very likely to draw the invitations early, and it just like there's no way to come back from that. Like when you're running up against that in like game 2 or 3, like it's just like a bulldozer.
Yep. And then we have a couple of bug fixes here. I think the most interesting one, Hawkstrider Rancher. So remember we talked about how the interaction with Nerubian Swarmguard was bugged if the card was meant to be an after effect, which it was stated, and we assumed they were going to make that stop happening. But instead, they just updated the text to be, I think, the first minion with a whenever trigger. Because the way that it works, if you play Nerubian Swarmguard with Hawkstrider Rancher, it gives all 3 of them a 1/1. And it only makes sense that happens when you play a minion and it gets the buff and then copies. So it is very weird timing. We've never seen this before, but they're basically reinforcing, no, the way that Rancher works right now is intentional. So, strange, but I don't know. It matches the functionality.
I mean, if they want that interaction with Bone Guard to be a thing, then fine. I mean, and like that deck would be a lot worse if that interaction wasn't there, to be honest. Like maybe unplayable. So I don't know if I go that far. It necessarily would be unplayable. I don't know if I would go that far, but it's definitely going to be a big hit to it, and it already was kind of on the downswing. So I mean, I could see them. Like that's kind of the cool thing that people want to do, right? Like that's the payoff for playing a deck like this. So I could see them wanting that to be a thing, you know.
I think it is sort of the big threat of playing Rancher on 3, right? Is the payoff of Swarmguard on 4, and perhaps even more for the extra +1/+1 than the Death Rattle. It's pretty important. Like that is a massive, risk reward play, and it makes sense to me to preserve that for Unholy.
Yeah. So not the change I expected, but I'm cool with it. The Purator's a mech now. There's been a lot of discussion around that, but it's a mech now. There was a bug in duels with Ironweave Bloodletter where it would heal when either player spent corpses. They fixed that. And then Diamond Zephyrus, he went away, but he will return and will be earnable when he's ready. So
maybe if you just wish hard enough.
Yes. So that's the patch notes, which is really the news. There are a couple things in the shop that got updated. Fanboy Leroy and mascot Nemsy, another Nemsy. For those of you Nemsy collectors out there,
gotta catch them all.
Yes, and then the Angry Chicken had episode 500 last night. And I'm not saying that is news, though, it's very exciting. I had a good time.
It's news.
It's kinda. But we had Cora on and we asked her some questions. So Rain wrote a great summary article that I recommend everybody go check out over on esports.gg. It's linked in the show notes. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Okay, I wasn't ready for this. But it's linked in the show notes. Definitely go check it out. We asked a few questions about her and then about the previous year and about the upcoming year. Previous year, well, she admitted that Theatar was harder to defend, which I enjoyed. Said that they knew Renathal was going to be impactful. And also, she said in context that maybe Denathrius did nothing wrong. So you know. That's what she said. Go listen to the interview if you want to hear all the stuff. We did also ask, for those of you Warrior fans out there, we asked about what Warrior's going to do, and she's made it pretty clear reverting Nelly From the Depths at this point would be pretty spooky. And so we're just going to start by adding some cool stuff. And she talked about how Warrior gets some cool things back in core. I asked her to commit to a number of hot pepper emojis on a scale of 1 to 5. She declined. I penciled in 2 emojis. We could go up to 3.
So I listened back to this, and when you mentioned the hot peppers, it was not in reference to stuff in core that she said stuff was going to be spicy. It was that they were
format changes, right?
Well, they're doing some stuff, right? There is some stuff planned. I'm not sure if it's format or if it's more of certain kind of events that bring in other cards, but it was kind of in response to your discussion of should they do 4 sets instead of having the mini sets. And I thought she had a good explanation for that. And and then she mentioned that they have some spicy stuff planned for next year. But I don't think that statement was in relation to the core set.
Okay. I'll trust you. It's
Listen to it twice.
Anyone that's ever podcasted knows that you never remember anything you say. You remember what other people say. So this seems plausible to me. Yeah, I'm really curious what they end up doing, but she did say she liked the Warrior core set. So I thought of Bloodsworn Mercenary, and multiple people in the Coin Concede Discord also said they had the same thought. We'll see. I'm not convinced yet, but it's possible.
I mean,
Also,
depending
I would be
on
so
how many,
happy.
I mean, imagine depending on how many emojis you really want to get to, you could throw Risky Skipper into core.
Not when they have the Fire one that they just printed. They wouldn't have 2 skippers, right? They did the Fire one expansion to go. I'd be very surprised they made that obsolete immediately. I don't know. I'm curious where they go.
Throw Ankar back in there, maybe?
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know if they want to do that. I should also point out, chat told me while we were talking, there are plenty of minions that say whenever. I can't think of any that say whenever a minion is played, but there are a few. That this might be, Hawkstrider might be the first one that affects the minion that you play with a whenever trigger, but either way. There are other whenever minions. So I'm curious to see where they end up with core and all that, and we should know really, really soon. Because, by my math, the announcement, pre-release patch, all that stuff is in 2 weeks. So, in the meantime, tournaments, still Twitch Rivals, BGs, the Battlegrounds Bash, an already used lobby. These are in the show notes, but not too much more going on besides that.
Except for
Are we not playing the bumper? What is this?
I'll play the bumper if you... Do you want to play the bumper so I can talk about 2 links?
Well, I mean, we want to talk about the fact that Jay Carrick is OP and needs to be nerfed, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll play the bumper for that.
It's the grand tournament!
Yeah, because noted live stream regular and Discord regular Jay Carrick has won Slissa's tournament on Friday and then was in the final of RDU's tournament on Sunday. So, I mean, I think that's worth celebrating. I mean, that especially like in a potentially high variance format like BG's, right? To play in 2 separate tournaments over 2 days and then be in the finals of both of them. That's pretty impressive, I would say. I think
think
that's
so.
worth a kazoo.
There you go. Kazoo. Okay, that was tournaments. Congrats, Jay Carrick. So, I put together a fun little, not even explanations. It's a goofy segment. We got time for it, right? Let's go spend 20 minutes on this. Let's go. Let's go. It's been a while.
Is this the right set that you put these in from?
The top card is an Unholy DK card, and there were no other sets with Unholy DK cards, so I sure hope so.
Yeah. No, this is Lich King, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It includes our predictions as well from Nathria that I just copy pasted.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yes.
I totally forgot some of these things came out in March of the Lich King.
Right? Okay, so got it or goofed it. A coin concede classic that we haven't done in a little while. But you know what? I felt
That's
like,
good.
hey, why don't we take this moment where we're waiting for the pre-orders, we're waiting for stuff to happen, we just got a patch, nothing to really talk about strategy-wise since a patch came out today. Why don't we look back at the last set or two and see what we thought, see where we landed. So, to start off, the cards we couldn't wait to play with from March of the Lich King. For me, I wrote Void Touch Attendant and crossed out because I was very interested in playing Shadow Priest. They made it work for me. Thank you, Blizzard. I appreciate that we had to wait for Mindseer, but we got it. And Rotting Necromancer. But we finally got there. So I'm really excited that the weird priest cards worked out. But the DK card I was most excited to play with is Tomb Guardians. The Unholy double rune card where it makes 2/2/2 taunts, and if you spend 4 corpses, then you make them reborn. And it turns out that Unholy wasn't good. And then when it was good, it was because it cut this card. Because spending corpses on things that aren't Lord Marigar is bad. Well, and now Battlefield Necromancer. Unfortunately.
Fun Grave Rune.
Which
Great
one?
strength, right?
Oh,
Great
yeah.
You know, the one that kills them? The Bloodlust?
Bloodlust. Yeah, that one. I like that card.
Yeah.
I forget that has a corpse requirement because it's just yellow. Like, it's just a yellow card. It just goes. Yeah. Edel, what were you excited to play with?
I was excited for Arcane Mage, which turned out to not really be the thing so much as just running the Arcane minions in Frozen Touch Mage, and then that fell off in favor of Frost DK. But I think before the mini set, it was relevant, right? Not a powerhouse, not weak. It was
Aggro Mage
you
was
know.
good. Like, it's
Yeah.
that deck is one of my favorite of this expansion because it's just like, it is the perfect argument against their making deck building too linear because it is the package buffet of you just assemble the cards from all the different sets that were clearly meant to synergize with other stuff, but they work so well together. Your Prismatic Elemental and your Nightcloak Sanctum, and then your Arcane cards, and then your Frozen Touches, and all this stuff. And Frostweave Dungeoneer from Alterac to go get frost spells. It all plays really nicely, even though it's over the course of 2 full years of design. And Arcane Worm and Arc Splitter ended up going in here, and they worked out really well. Now, Vexilus Mage, not it. Super not it. Never even close to being it.
They even buffed Magister's Apprentice for a little while, and it wasn't good enough to see play. Accidentally.
Accidental buff. And then, Steve, what were you excited to play with?
Surprising no one, Sisters Falna. And yeah, I got my money's worth out of that card. I sure did. Like that, 2 different decks I got to play that card. And both in that in Plague Spreader Priest, that was, Svalna featured pretty prominently into Worlds, much to everyone's dismay. And then the Svalna Combo Priest. And yeah, I've played enough of that deck, and I never need to play it again because that deck is very hard to play. And by the way, when you're on the opposing side of it, extremely boring. So. But yeah, I definitely got my time out of it, and I enjoyed it. So
it was World Championship defining.
Yeah.
cards
Roll for
we were,
drown.
yeah, cards we were scared of. Steve, what were you scared of?
Shallow Grave, and it seems justified. I mean, Mind Lock was a thing for a little while before we got the mini set.
Oh, it's still a
It
thing.
still
And
pops up.
It's
it's still a
still
thing. And now Big Warlock is a thing, and that's also, I mean, it
it's
seems
less
to be
egregious in
trying to be a
that
thing.
deck. Like it's
Yeah.
in Big Warlock, you're playing a really janky cube. Like it still is an okay deck,
Yeah.
but I don't feel like Shallow Grave is a real problematic thing there. Mindlock, they don't need a lot to do a lot now, and
Yeah.
you just die with Shallow Raven Devourer.
Or even just using it on like an explosive sheep, right? Just as a clear to be
Yeah.
able to live, to be able to do your combo. So it does a lot of work in that deck.
Edelweiss, I think you had some pretty justified fears here.
Yep. I like the card a lot, but it was Astalor.
Hmm.
And I like it in basically everything that's not Druid. Or
Yeah.
Shadow Step. I don't especially like
Yeah.
it getting Shadow Stepped either.
I am glad that the nerf worked as well as it did, because it really made a big difference, and we thought it wasn't going to. But just disrupting that turn 7 Astalor is such a huge deal. And it's a much worse 5-drop than it is a 4-drop. You were also worried about Putricide. I was worried about Putricide. I mean, Rogue had a bunch of things to be worried about, and where Putricide is now, like, I still don't love how he feels to play against, but he turns out to be a lot less concerning than a bunch of other stuff. Still a pretty snowbally card. I'm sure we'll see more of him, but for now, I'm a little bit less afraid. For now. Rogue will be back. It's always back. Next up, we have cards that we wanted to be good but weren't. And my answer was anything that says Arcane. Unfortunately, both Full Arcane Mage and Full Arcane Hunter just straight up failed to launch. And I think for actually pretty similar reasons. I still think Haldoran should hit your hand in addition to your deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would feel legendary.
You've been listening to Sadisi, I can see. Because he says that.
He's
about
been
every
listening to
stream.
me. He's been listening to me.
I don't think he needs to listen to you to have that opinion, but
No. You just need to play with the card once and you get it. Like it's not too hard to see that, and it just I remember trying both Vexilus Mage and Arcane Hunter in the Theory Crafting stream and just being so underwhelmed by both, and that has not changed. These archetypes just kind of aren't it. So, but Edelweiss, I think you were the only one here that got this wrong.
I'm pretty happy to be wrong because I've said Alexandros Mograine. So I was kind of betting against myself because I love this card. And it's often not useful, but I think over time and as Blood Decay has evolved, it just is certainly necessary in matchups that go long, very important in the mirror. And a lot of times, with no munchers, if you can pave the way for it to hit face, etc., Alexandros Mograine is just pretty quick win condition, right? If you've got them halfway there, it's just a few turns and a weapon swing away or something. So, very happy to be wrong on this one.
Yeah, I'm glad that it works and it doesn't work too well. It's not broken.
Yeah.
It's just you can play it and you should play it and it makes the deck better. But Steve, you were right.
Yeah. I mean, when you have to Google the card to remind yourself what it does, you know that you pretty much overshot being right on this one. So I said Overlord Drakuru, which I will read to you because nobody has ever seen it.
have.
I have.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Of course. I mean, Edel, I'm sure you have it in 6 decks, but
No.
Um,
I just watch Kibler sometimes.
Oh yeah, fair. But it's a
Nah.
9 mana 6/8 with Russian Wind Fury. After this attacks and kills a minion, resurrected on your side. Yeah, which seems like a very fun card, especially with like From the Other Side and whatever. But yeah, I mean, maybe now that people just can't just like evolve Knolls, maybe people try that again. But yeah, I haven't seen it very much at all.
Yeah, I'm unconvinced by him, but he's a cool card.
Yeah.
I hope he's good someday. And cards we thought were over underrated. Steve, I had to look up this one, a card that you
Yeah,
thought
this
was
one
being
too.
overrated.
Yeah, Scourge Tamer, which was the Make a Zombies card that everybody was over the moon for. And yeah, that's just not, it's not it. We're not making zombies.
It's I admit I forgot this card existed, and I looked it up. It's like,
I
oh,
did too. I was like, well, what did I say about this card? I don't even remember what this card is. And then I looked at the over next to it, and I calmed down a lot. But yeah.
yeah, it's like I think it might not be accurate because I don't know if it was rated. Like,
Oh, people were excited about it. They saw zombies and they got really excited. Until they actually tried to put it in a deck and then saw that it was not as exciting as it seemed.
Oh, I definitely missed on this one as well. I said Disruptive Spellbreaker under, and that has not manifested. I was hoping that if people tried it in something more proactive, right, that you could use it to discard enemy removal, that kind of thing. But Warrior has just needed help for so long, and yeah, this has not been the way.
This one could be a late bloomer,
Could be.
right? Like I think that the problem isn't the card. The problem is that Warrior's just so bad right now that it doesn't matter. Like they could print a rogue card in Warrior and it wouldn't matter. Like it just wouldn't see play because Warrior just has too many problems. But I think when we get a rotation, there might be room for some, especially after they buffed it. Like when I've played against it, there was like that Tech Warrior deck that was there in the meta before the mini set. And I think this was before it might have been before the rogue nerfs. And you know, that it wasn't good against most of the meta, but like sometimes it was very good, especially when you're playing like big spell mage against it. It lived up to the name, right? So I think that like when we get past a rotation and the power level comes down a little bit and Warrior gets some help in the core set, this might have resurgence.
I lost to this card today.
Oh,
Really?
So I was playing against Savitz,
Oh,
and
okay.
I was playing Murloc Shaman, and he was playing Control Warrior, and he did Coin from the Depths into Rokara into Finley. He played a turn 7 Jailer, and then a turn 8 second Shield Shatter Disruptive Spellbreaker. Now, I will probably point out, I mostly lost to the other cards,
Yeah,
but when
yeah, I
I
was gonna say.
conceded, this was in play. That's all.
it was an unkillable make your opponent discard every turn. Which
I
is
didn't
is
have any
kinda pretty good.
spells, but I didn't have any life either, and he killed me with the Jailer. But it happened. I was gonna give my Murlocular Rush to gain some life, and I can't attack their minions. It's a rough beat.
bummer.
Well played, Savitz. Well played. I'm giving myself partial credit for this one because I said Nerubian Vizier was underrated. And oh boy, is that true. However, we're going to mitigate it because right under where I wrote Nerubian Vizier is underrated, in the previous set in Nathria, I said that evolved mechanics were overrated, thank goodness. I was right at the time, but we're just going to pull that one back now. We're just going to... That thread
Well,
unravels.
in fairness to you, we did not have the number of evolved mechanics that we had, but after you wrote that sentence. So
Still, I'll take credit for Vizier. We'll mitigate that by maybe evolved mechanics ended up being a little problematic anyway. And then also for cards I don't understand, I stand by Rotten Rodent, not understanding that one, which is what, 2-mana, 2/1 that it makes Death Rattle cards in your deck cost 1 less. I don't know. I've never seen this played. I'm never going to see this played. I don't care. But then I will also note that I said I didn't understand Sinful Brand from Nathria. We figured that one out. We know what we learned what that was for. It's for murder.
Yeah.
That's what that was for. It was for killing people. So that also needed some support. But the murder at Castle Nathria was whoever got Sinful Branded. They died. Yeah. But Edel, I think you had a good pick here for a card that you'd understand.
Yeah, I went with Enchanter, and that has seen
What is Enchanter?
certainly more.
Give us the card text.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. It is the 3-mana 3/3 that says during your turn, your opponent's minions take double damage. Or I don't know if that's the exact wording, but that effect. And I didn't really understand that. We don't have Il'gynoth in standard anymore, but it was used by Demon Hunter again. And it was used in not the same way, but a similar way as just another version of being able to do more damage to your opponent's minions with the Fellscream blast. Because you had
Unleash Fell.
Yeah. Unleash
Yeah.
Fell.
Yeah, so you could turn into like a full Reno effect with that. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Not as good as the Arcanist, the 3-mana 2/2 spell damage +2. You can't target your opponent that turn, but it was sort of like a second copy, so that if you needed another clear, you had that. And then the last minion, I believe, was Jace.
Sounds plausible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still just, I don't remember seeing this card in play, but it's might have some applications, but I just don't know what to do with it. Who knows? And, Steve, I mean, I kind of understand what your card is doing.
Yeah, I probably should have swapped this with over underrated, honestly, because like I think it was overrated, and I kind of understood what it was too. But Lorthamar Theron, which is the 7-mana 7/7 battle cry, double the stats of all minions in your deck. I do understand it. I just thought it was bad, so I probably had that swapped with the with over underrated because it did exactly what I thought it was going to do. Is that you play it and then you die.
Yeah. But I mean, Battlecry big. Like, that's what his card just
Battlecry make cards that you're not going to have time to draw bigger. Great. Congratulations.
I mean, I have run into this where there were some particularly greedy Druid decks going around.
Yeah.
And
But I mean,
the-
you probably like those Druid decks don't need it is the thing, right? Like those Druid decks would have been fine with that being like literally any other card. And they would have been just as good. So
I feel like there was a reason at the time, but I also remember feeling like that reason was dumb, so I'm going to stick with that. Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe
I guess
Boom
now
Priest.
there's like that Metathirst 11 card that has charge, so maybe that's something that you could.
You Lorthamar, your Death Beetle. Yeah, that's just gonna tear up the meta. Yep. More of a 4-set thing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I do wonder if Lorthamar may see some play during 4-set, just as a things are slow. This helps you get an edge in greedy matchups because everything is a super threat. But I've definitely had games that are blood, I guess, mirrors, right? Where they were 40 cards, they played Lorthamar, and I still just killed them. Yeah. I mean,
it's
if you've got
there's
some good agnostic removal.
The amount of extra life you need to justify playing War Golem Go is so much.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do
especially
that.
because you've drawn half your deck by then.
You can't even do that in Arena.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
Arena,
just-
you have to draw the. Yeah, I mean, it's you're top decking at that point, but it's like, I mean, again, Frizz Kindle Roost is not going to save the meta. Just it's not going to happen, and this is just like Frizz Kindle Roost, but big instead of cheap. That's all it's doing.
Yeah. Well, this is a fun little trip down memory lane for our ratings of the of March of the Lich King. Just looking back and seeing where we landed because we're almost done with this set. Kind of hard to process, and we still have more to explore in this format. And for now, we're going to go do that. We're going to go play some Hearthstone, so we're going to wind down the show. And we have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website, CoinKitty.com. You can find our contact info, show notes, Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show, patreon.com/CoinKitty. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coinkitty.com. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinkitty.com. Write into our email at coinkitty@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at CoinKitty. Like, share, and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/CoinKitty. Like some CC swag, heading over to our shop at shop.coinkitty.com. Big thanks to our producers, Number Theory, Doshi K, Crash Cat, B Squatch, David P, Faded Black, Wild Lou, Jeremy T, Bottle Caps, Lucky, Grumpy Monk, Creb Mart, and the Burger Club. Subs, Helping Friendly Book, Nulzy, and Grey Lego, thank you so much for your subs during the show. Steve, give me your coin concedes.
So I'm going to coin concede to World 8, who could not coin concede to me on ladders, so they Totem conceded to me on ladder, so it's probably a very different show, but I appreciated that nonetheless. And
Totally different.
yeah. And I'm also going to coin concede to Pocket Train. I spent a bunch of time in his stream the last couple of days of the month watching his slow descent into madness. that was the end of the season grind. And I hope he's getting some rest, because I mean, I will say that he is probably the most entertainingly tilted player when he's tilted. But it was very fun to watch, at least for not being him. But it seemed like it was quite an unfun couple of days, and I hope that he's getting the time to rest and recuperate as much of, you know, the people who are grinding themselves to a nub on Monday and Tuesday are, because it seems like we knew that system was going to be mentally draining for a lot of the competitive players, and seems like that's coming to pass. So you know, I hope they all get a little bit of rest over the next couple of days.
Edel?
I'm going to coin concede to Tito Santana. I'm very sorry about the double boat.
No, you're not. Don't lie.
I mean, I'm sorry it happened to him. I would also like to coin concede to Edelweiss, because she brought me a tissue in the middle of the show, which is very helpful. Have a bit of a stuffy nose again. Probably got her from my nephew. You know how it goes.
Yeah. And as for me, I will coin concede to a bunch of people. There was a Hall of Fame thread on Reddit. It's just like, if there was a Hearthstone Hall of Fame, who would be inducted? And this really nice guy who I've played against on ladder a few times, Kyle McMN, called me out and said, like, the content that he's made is that I've made has really helped him, and a bunch of other people upvoted it. And it was a rough day work-wise, and it really helped me when I really needed it. So Kyle, thank you very much for that. Meant a lot. Cora, thanks for coming on. Angry Chicken. Also, coin concede to Joss, the TAC listeners, Garrett, of course. Gonna give a coin concede to KM Best and Brendan APG over on the Snapshot Pod, where I guested on a Marvel Snap podcast. And it was fun. And, you know, KM Best, I know him from, he was a regular in Blister Guys Walk to Work Discord a while ago. He's a Magic grinder turned Hearthstone grinder turned Snap content creator grinder. You know, he was the #1 MMR player on Snap for a while. And so he has a show with Brendan APG, who's to my understanding, a paper card version of me. He has multiple podcasts of multiple different games that are all like physical instead of digital. So it was a good time talking to them. And then the Coin Concede Pre-Squad, an unlikely group of people who have all hit 11x or high ranks or whatever with the Shadow Priest deck. Steve wanted a bunch of Priest players, but not like this. So here we are.
This is definitely the Monkey's Paw version of this, yes.
Yeah, but like, and in particular, I know Grumpy Monk 80 and Magisa have both been. They were my Naga Priest buddies, and now they're my Shadow Priest buddies. But we got a bunch of people there playing it, and a lot of conversation around the deck. So if you're interested in talking about Undead Shadow Priest, that is the place to do it. Yeah, I think that's all my coin concedes. So that's it for our show. Keep calm and try out some new stuff after the nerfs. And if you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
All right, stopping recording.
Yeah.
Cool. Also, for those of you still here, and Steve, mostly Steve, Metroid Fusion is coming to Nintendo Switch Online in a week.
I saw that. I am very excited, and also the Katamari shirt is available for sale.
Surprised you haven't ordered it already.
I have it in my cart right now. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think I need to buy that, especially because I need something to wear to PAX in a couple weeks. So.
Oh yeah, PAX. That's right.
Exciting.
Yeah, PAX
Oh,
is
yeah,
at
that's
the end of the month.
in your neighborhood.
Yeah, I don't have to fly or anything, so I'll just have to.
I still regret
wear like 6 masks.
I still regret not going to PAX Unplugged when I was in Philly.
What makes it unplugged?
It's board
Board
game
games.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's in New York now. I don't think it's in Philly anymore, but
No.
I mean, it's
New
not
York
too
is
far.
so much more expensive.
Well, yeah. I mean, we do that here.
I don't do that here. Oh, Cleveland is so pleasantly affordable.
Yes. All right, chat. We're gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go eat. But thank you so much for being here tonight. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.